Hi fantasy managers, and welcome to FPL Team Talks. In this one I'm going to go through my wildcard for game week 26. I know it's quite close to the deadline, but I thought I'd update you on the wildcard I released a week ago, given the press conferences and all the news we've had about the midweek games. So if you enjoy this sort of video, please give it a like. If you find it useful, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and in the meantime, let's crack on. Before we then look at the fixtures for game week 26, which is of course a blank game week, we have to consider with any wildcard that you're using right now, game week 29. So game week 29 is going to be difficult because we're only expecting at the moment 3 fixtures to go ahead. So the fixtures we'd expect to go ahead are definitely Burnley, Brentford, Fulham, Spurs, West Ham, Villa. There is the potential for Luton versus Forest or Manchester United versus Sheffield United to happen, depending on the result really between Manchester United and Forest. Obviously, if there's other upsets, there could be other fixtures. But if you're wildcarding game week 26, you really need to be aware to set up ready for game week 29, unless you expect or hope to free hit through it. But I would expect if you're wildcarding now in game week 26, ideally, you want to be setting yourself up quite well so you don't have to use it in game week 29. So this wildcard side that I put together takes into account the blank game week 26, getting through those, blank game week 29, and also try to take advantage of double game week 28, which will be between Luton and Bournemouth, both having extra fixtures. So lots of stuff to take into account. If you want to wildcard in 26, there's absolutely no right or wrong time to do it. I do think, as a caveat, if you can get 10 players out, I think that is fine. 9, I'll be tempted to take hits. I would be trying to avoid using my wildcard in 26, simply because by the end of game week 20, the beginning of game week 27, we will know more about these fixtures and which ones will be going ahead and which ones won't. And by game week 27, then we can plan forward for that game week 29. It may be that if the likes of Chelsea get knocked out at Leeds, Arsenal versus Chelsea suddenly becomes available as a fixture, and we can all look at Saka, Palmer, and those sort of players can come into effect, and it will be less difficult to get 11 out. That being said, let's have a look at the side I put together. I'm not going to go into the same sort of detail I did on my previous video. If you want to look at that, fine, please do, and I'll go through some of the reasons why I've chosen the players. I'm going to just look at it in its entirety, how you get through 26, 29, and maybe different options later on as well. So, all that considered, this is a side that I've put together, and really, given the press conferences and everything, it's not much that has changed my opinion about who to have in. This will be the side in 26, so this is how you get through 26. Captaincy could obviously be on someone different. I think for me, I've got Haaland, I've got Saka. Those are the 2 options. I'm actually considering... I'm actually considering Garnacho. I'd look into the stats a bit more, I think, before I'd commit to that. Garnacho's quite good form. I think his underlying stats are good. And at home to Fulham, who are conceding goals, I quite like it. But with Højlund being out, will that affect them? I just think he's such a massive differential. I am tempted to go Garnacho. It seems crazy, but that's for another time. Haaland could possibly be a captain. You side with Ake. I think he got a rest in midweek. Otherwise, he looks pretty nailed, I'd say, at the moment. Foden looks good for minutes. Watkins has to come in. He's got good fixtures and games in 29. You've got 3 Tottenham players. They have a good fixture that's definitely on in 29. So I really want those 3. I think Richarlison's safe to have up front. Son plays and Udogie. I would prefer Pedro Porro. I think really just for the assured of minutes, Udogie is expected back sooner. If we get news about Pedro, then Porro, then maybe he could come in. The other slot that could be available, I wouldn't mind going Doherty instead of Reguilón. Reguilón's fixtures look okay. Doherty does have the double though in 28, and he plays. He's not guaranteed to play in 29, and he hasn't got a fixture in 26. So to get through 26, I think you have to go for that Brentford. They got them West Ham away in 29, so that's got to be factored in. So this will be your side for 26. I do think it's quite nice. It's quite affordable. You might have more money than this if you've already got money invested in someone like Saka. How does it get through to 29? You would have at the moment these guaranteed players. So you would have 6-7 players guaranteed to play. Now, if anything happens, like Chelsea get knocked out, suddenly Gabriel and Saka come into play. If Man United get knocked out, then Garnacho, you'd have 8. So things could happen, and that's why really holding off the wildcard till 27, when you will know about these things, would be a bit more beneficial. But you have until 27, 28. You have three game weeks to be able to then bring in players to try and make your side up to 10 or 11 players. The problem with the wildcarding now is if you don't get another one, and come game week 29, when that is gone, we'll then know who's doubling and blanking for the rest of the season, and you've already used the wildcard, so it becomes difficult, especially if you're forced a free hit in 29. Then you may not have that to bail you out in 34 where there's blanks, or take advantage of the doubles in 37. So really getting through 29 without using that free hit, if you've got it, will really be beneficial. Other players you can consider, talked about Doherty briefly. Ross Barkley is one. He's relatively cheap, but he doesn't play in 26. Potentially, if Forrest get knocked out, he could, and Luke get knocked out at Man City, he could have a fixture in 29, which is quite good. And he has that double with Palace and Bournemouth. So that's quite nice. His underlying stats are okay. So he's been a bit unlucky over last week not to get some sort of return, but he's definitely an option. And the other one I looked at the other day, and I still stand by it, I think he looks pretty good. We know Jarrod Bowen is nailed for minutes for West Ham. Players coming back as well, like Paqueta, maybe will increase his goal threat. But he has a fixture in 26, and he definitely plays in 29 as well with Villa. So he could come in if you were looking at it. But that's the side that I'm looking at. Any questions, obviously, put them in the link below. That's how I would set up my wildcard side for game week 26. That's it for this one then, guys. Thanks for watching. Any questions about the wildcard, any players you think that I should be looking at to bring in or have avoided, then let me know in the comments below. I will respond as soon as I can, as always. In the meantime, we'll be back at you with team selection, watch list, all that good stuff ready for game week 27. But best of luck for game week 26, and I shall see you on the other side.